Hello, everyone. I'm excited to have all of you join us today to learn how to better identify root cause of your EHR slowness complaint. My name is Stacy Leidwinger, and I'm a part of the marketing team here at Goliath, and I'm also joined by our senior technical consultant, Yemi Ladyju. Now, before we jump in, I did want to go over just a few housekeeping items and set expectations. What you're going to see is a few slides to set some context for today, where we'll talk about some of the collective health IT challenges that you're facing and why you're facing those challenges. Then Yemi is going to go into very specific challenges that our customers have come to us with around slow session performance, both within their EHR and their IT delivery infrastructure, and how they were able to solve that leveraging Goliath technologies. Overall, the webinar is going to be roughly 45 to 60 minutes, and we do want to respond to any questions you have. So please ask throughout. We may stop and take a few during the session, and any we don't get to, we will absolutely answer at the end. And one last piece of it, request, not advice, is that we are going to wrap this up with a 3 short survey questionnaire. It will also be sent out via email. Please take less than 3 minutes to respond, because we really want to make sure that the content we're providing, the time you took to listen in, is providing value. And so we'd love your feedback to understand what things you would like to learn more about and if we hit your expectation for the day. And final piece is you will receive a recording of this webinar in your inbox within the next 24 hours. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. In terms of the challenges that most of you are probably facing on this call, things that we hear day in and day out are things around the fact that in healthcare, your IT departments have 50% of the budget and headcount of your enterprise IT counterparts. And so you're often struggling to do more with less. And when I say do more, I mean a lot of what IT is supporting within these health systems, not to be dramatic, but can be an element of life or death. The impact of slow session performance can have a direct impact on patient care and how clinicians are servicing those clients. I often talk to our customers, and what I hear is they know doctors by name because the doctors do not hesitate to pick up the phone and call IT when poor performance has impacted the care that they're giving and has created a negative experience. The other piece of this paradigm, and this is something we're going to spend a bit of time talking about today, is that there's not a simplified answer when it comes to slow EHR performance. One of the things that make it so challenging is within your own health systems, I suspect in many cases, you have one team that's managing the EHR system, and sometimes that team is a managed service provider. It might be a hosted system. And then you have another team that's managing the infrastructure delivery system. Often this is through Citrix or VMware Horizon. That means when an issue comes up and someone specifically complains about slow performance, slow log-on time, there's an immediate nature to point fingers around the root cause. Is it the actual EHR application? Is it something within the delivery infrastructure? Or is it even something that the clinician or that end user did that impacts performance? I want to dig into this a little bit more with a sample scenario. In this case, I'm going to take the example of Cerner because it really heightens what I just talked about, because in most cases, Cerner Millennium is being hosted for you if you're a Cerner customer by Cerner RHO. And what that means is your clinicians and even others in IT have this perception that if there is slow performance, it's absolutely Cerner's fault. They see this straight line connection between what the end user sees and what Cerner provides. Now, the problem with this is that this assumption is incorrect. It assumes there's an unobstructed connection. In fact, altogether, this is technically inaccurate. So if you look at this next screenshot, and if you read right to left, what you're going to see is a user logging into Cerner. And that illusion of an unobstructed connection is completely gone. The reality shows that there's proprietary communication protocols, network devices, network connections, IT infrastructure in the data center, other applications being delivered to the end user along with Cerner, as well as that clinician behavior element. If there's slow performance, it could occur in any one of these elements. And to add complexity is each of these elements are often coming from a different vendor. It might be Cisco, Citrix, VMware, a managed service provider. So what we're trying to show is the complexity when someone complains about slow performance. And it's not just for Cerner or hosted applications. Maybe you're using a hosted version of Epic Hyperspace. Maybe you're not hosting it, and in fact, you have your EHR application, whether it be MEDITECH or Allscripts, within the data center, but you're still hitting a lot of these different elements. And if you don't have a tool that provides you the overarching visibility into all of it, it makes troubleshooting nearly impossible and meeting the expectation of your clinicians even more challenging. That's why here at Goliath, we're absolutely passionate about helping IT deliver a strong end user experience and helping you prevent, anticipate, and troubleshoot when issues do arise. So what we do is we provide an end-to-end view of that entire experience and all the elements that could impact your goal of giving people the ability to perform seamlessly. We not only allow our customers to anticipate issues before they happen, but if an issue does happen, we give you data and metrics to troubleshoot quickly and effectively. And then we offer analytics and reports that will give you an idea if performance has degraded, where it's occurred, and the root cause. Now, with all of this information, you as part of the health IT team can foster data-driven conversations with other vendors, management teams, your IT counterparts, other business unit leaders, all that are supporting the delivery of these applications. And what's really important that I want to make sure we point out on this slide, and you're going to see as we walk through the scenarios, is not only does the Goliath give you that end-to-end visibility across the experience, the delivery infrastructure, and your EHR applications, but we can do that because we are the only troubleshooting tool on the market that has purpose-built modules to support Epic, Cerner, Allscripts, and MEDITECH. We have customers of all different sizes in the health system that we are providing support for because we really understand the challenges that occur in health IT and why that intersection across these three elements are so critical when it comes to identifying root cause of issues, as well as anticipating issues before they even impact the clinician. So why can we do this? Why is our tool so powerful and feedback from our customers? It comes down to three elements. The first is we have embedded intelligence and automation, which actively monitors over 250 key conditions, events, and failure points that will automatically alert your health IT teams before clinicians are ever impacted. We've built this intelligence in our product after years of working with our customers, many just like you on the phone, and really understanding how each of those IT elements can impact that experience around your EHR system. One of the things our customers often tell us after investing in Goliath is it's almost like they've hired 2 to 3 troubleshooting experts to figure out and identify root cause, because really there was no way for them to do this beforehand. And the expertise that's brought with the intelligence creates that service. The next element we have is deep and broad metrics. And this really allows for quick and effective troubleshooting, so you have visibility across all of those IT elements I spoke about, and really finding any potential point of failure impacting the clinician performance. Yemi's going to go ahead and demonstrate how this works. And finally, as I said earlier, we have these historical reports and analytics so that you can not only monitor trends over time, but you can foster data-driven conversations. In fact, I was just on a call with a customer earlier this week, and the way they characterized it is anytime a doctor calls in, it's almost dire. You know, they happen to be talking about Dr. Smith and how he's called in often, and he said, you know, my system's just so slow. It was slow yesterday at 5 o'clock. It was slow at 10 a.m. And the challenge is a lot of that information, while great, is very subjective and anecdotal. Does he really know that those point in times were the right time when slowness occurred? How slow was it? Was it equally slow each of the times he spoke about? With that historical data, the IT team that we were talking to was able to go in and exactly pinpoint that, yes, there were some instances of slowness, but it wasn't always exactly when the doctor perceived that they occurred. And they were able to correlate what they saw, what they heard, and really identify what the root cause was. all too often, and you're going to see this, things that seem sporadic really are not, and there is a root cause that can be adjusted and create permanent resolution. Now, with that context setting, I'm going to turn it over to Yemi, who's going to walk through 3 specific customer examples. We tried to pick customers of all different sizes, different EHR systems, and different challenges to really give you an idea of the breadth that we can assist you with. Yemi, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Stacey. So the first scenario we're going to talk about is going to be focusing on some of the issues that Universal Health Services was having and how we were able to solve those issues or help them solve these issues. So quick background on Universal Health Services, or UHS. They are a large health system, and they pretty much have about 36 different acute care hospital locations all across the United States and some other clinics as well. They pretty much are on-prem or a VMware hypervisor platform, as well as Citrix and desktop. However, they are hosted, or they are a Cerner customer, which means that Cerner provides services for them via their remote hosted option. So particularly the challenge that they were having in this example was focused on a couple of hospitals or user sessions in the Nevada area where users were sporadically complaining about session performance issues, and it really didn't seem like there was any sort of pattern to it. It was just a bunch of users getting kicked off of their sessions or having freezing, crashing, just really poor in-session performance. Now, as Stacey sort of touched on earlier in the presentation, most users think that there's a direct connection to Cerner, right? So the first team, or the first sort of portion of the environment to be blamed was Cerner. It's a hosted application, so there's something going on with Cerner if I can't have access or if I'm having issues inside of the session. Understanding what exactly was causing those issues was really, really hard because there was no information, especially from the hosted environment in Cerner. So let's go through how they actually went through and solved these issues. So the first thing that they did, they talked to Cerner, opened up a ticket, and Cerner was able to look at their Zabbix software to try and see exactly what's taking place from an application performance perspective in that Cerner RHO environment. The network teams from those different locations in the Nevada area were able to take a look at network connectivity as well. And Cerner and the network teams were not able to find any information or any metrics to support a reason for issues taking place in the environment. So the UHS team logged into Goliath. They were able to identify each individual session that was having these sort of issues. And what they were able to identify was that at 3 specific hospitals in the Nevada region, there were some latency issues that were due to poor connectivity at those hospitals. They were able to use metrics from Goliath to prove that. So with that, they took this information directly to the network team, and they said, hey, look, we have these users connecting in, and they all have poor connectivity. They have poor bandwidth to be able to access their Cerner sessions. Well, it turns out that they were able to identify that there was a riverbed device that wasn't sort of configured correctly or wasn't updated correctly, which was then causing all of these hospitals to have poor bandwidth or poor network connectivity. This was something that they were able to identify, and once that device was removed from rotation, they were able to confirm in real time that that fixed action actually solved those problems. So I'm going to jump into the technology and show you exactly how UHS was able to go through this process to identify those issues that they wouldn't have had visibility without Goliath with. So we're going to jump over here. This is the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Session Display for UHS. And typically when customers get to the screen similar to this example, they come here to troubleshoot. They come here to find exactly what's causing issues inside of the user session. So first things first, you can see here that this automatically populates with all of the sessions taking place across the environment. It's technology shifts with embedded intelligence and automation that will alert you to a user experiencing some sort of issue inside of their session, whether it's sustained latency, sort of like in this particular example, or things like logon issues or application crash issues inside of a session, so that when you get here, you're able to sort of isolate what sessions you're looking for. You can come over here to this quick filter and actually search for a particular user's name. You could, search by delivery group or machine name, so on and so forth. We don't average or roll up any information that we collect here, so you have the same amount of granularity to go back and see, details on a session from today or a session from 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, depending on how long you want to keep that data for. So in this case, they were able to sort of isolate all of those sessions that were affected. They clicked on those sessions, and what they now got was a pop-up of about 8 tabs showing them all the information they need to troubleshoot those user sessions, starting off with this summary tab. Now, the summary tab is sort of designed to allow you to come up with quick answers. And if you can't come up with those quick answers, it directs you to the remaining tabs or to the tab that's going to allow you to come up with those answers. So really quickly, they were able to see all of the components that delivered Citrix for those users. They were able to see their logon times, which they weren't having issues with. But they really focused here on the key performance metrics section. So they were able to click on round trip time. They found that for all those users, they were able to confirm that their round-trip times were high, confirming that they were having poor user experience in their Cerner sessions. And for all of those users, they noticed that there was high network latency, meaning that network performance was the bottleneck that was actually causing those issues for those user sessions. Finally, they were able to take a look at this metric here, which is very unique to Goliath platform, right? This is connection speed. The amount of bandwidth available for Citrix receiver at the endpoint of the users that are connecting into the session. So regardless of where these users are connecting in from, whether it's a home office or whether it's a coffee shop or something like that, you're able to tell how much bandwidth is allocated for Citrix at their endpoint. So this was how they were able to come up with those answers, because for all of those sessions, they saw 0.5 megabits per second connection speed, which, as we all know, is not enough to support responsive Citrix sessions. This objective evidence was then taken over to the network team, and on further investigation, they were able to find those poorly configured device. So that's exactly how UHS was able to leverage this portion of the technology, or leverage the embedded intelligence and automation, number one, and the detailed metrics to be able to troubleshoot even when Cerner and the network team did not have answers for why those issues were taking place. So the next scenario we're going to talk about is Augusta Health, and similar to UHS, they have multiple hospital locations across the United States. They have VMware hypervisor infrastructure, and the difference here is that they have MEDITECH, which is completely hosted by Augusta Health, as opposed to Cerner for Universal Health Services that is hosted by Cerner. So the issues that Augusta Health was having was sort of the same thing, where it was users complaining about in-session performance issues, not being able to leverage the EMR application, which in this case is MEDITECH, efficiently. Crashes or slow screens, or that maybe the screen loads but nothing shows up on the screen, and which was making it very, very difficult for people to leverage this sort of their applications. And the other sort of pain point here is that obviously this is being delivered by Citrix. So the Citrix team, everyone blames Citrix for the issues, right? And I'm sure we've all heard of that, right? If there's an issue with Citrix, or if there's a user experience, or if there are user experience issues, everyone blames Citrix for it. They came to us and they wanted to be able to point to what exactly is causing the issues so that, to, first of all, eliminate the finger pointing, but most importantly, to be able to sort of understand what's causing those issues so that they can fix them and provide a better experience for the users. So in this case, what they did was they went through the same process after they deployed the technology. They went through the same process that we just went through for the UHS sessions, where they looked up all of those user sessions all of those users that were complaining about slowness and things like that. They looked up all of those sessions and sort of different from what UHS was able to find, they couldn't see any issues when it comes to the delivery of the MEDITECH application. The round trip times were good. Network latency was good. There was no ICA latency. Resource utilization was all normal. So the Citrix team sort of used this information and said, hey, it does not look like there's an issue with the delivery of this MEDITECH application. As Stacy mentioned, we're the only technology that has purpose-built modules that allow you to see application performance for MEDITECH, EPIC, and Allscripts. So then they flipped over to the MEDITECH dashboard that we have included with our MEDITECH module. And what they were able to identify here, the Citrix team pointed out that for across the board in the MEDITECH environment, there was extremely high wait and hold times for all of those MEDITECH sessions. So this was a cause of concern because, number one, they figured out it's not the Citrix problem. It's not anything in the delivery, but it looks like there are some application performance issues. So then they took a look at this next dashboard, which we provide. And keep in mind, we do provide similar dashboards for EPIC as well as Allscripts. And what they were able to identify is that there were a lot of I/O problems when it comes to the MEDITECH, when it came to the MEDITECH application. So there was a lot of I/O issues, communication between the SQL and the file servers for MEDITECH, as well as TCP retransmits. So this was information that they sent over to the infrastructure team and the MEDITECH application team and said, hey, it's not Citrix. We're able to confirm that by looking at the user's experience, but we're also able to see that we have some major MEDITECH performance issues across the board. So they were able to sort of use this information to justify, upgrading certain portions of the environment, and that improved performance. The final scenario we're going to talk about is a top 10 not-for-profit health system in the United States. And here they have sort of similar infrastructure on-prem where they have VMware Hypervisor, Citrix and App, and here they're delivering EPIC Hyperspace, so they have EPIC on-prem, and they also have some instances of Cerner. Specifically, they were having issues with application availability. So users sporadically would, have failed logons or failed or not be able to access those EHR AMR applications, particularly when they come into work on Monday mornings or when they come into work and start their workday. So that obviously is a problem when we're talking about patient critical applications like EPIC, Cerner, MEDITECH, or Allscripts. What we were able to do for them was deploy sort of an early warning system, and this is a technology that we call our application availability monitor that would sort of be at each. It's a technology that is placed at each of their different hospital locations, and on a 24/7, 365 basis, it's logging on and testing the delivery infrastructure, making sure that all of the resources that they're publishing are always available to the end users. And if there is an issue, the IT department now gets a real-time alert, and they can then analyze all of those launches from within the technology. So let's flip over to that portion and talk a little bit about how this is used. So this is the application availability analysis tab. And as I mentioned, this is where sort of you have a real-time dashboard and management console for all of those different launches taking place across the environment. So this health system, they have the ability to then filter based on date range and show what application availability looks like for all of their different Epic locations or all of their different hospital locations across the board. They can, filter based on date range, based on the locations, based on the applications that are being launched. And here they have a live dashboard of all of those launches. So the yellow trend line here shows overall availability. So out of 100%, how available are those resources that you're publishing? And then they also get insight into the application launch times for all of their different Epic or all of their launches from all of their different locations. Now, the bottom section, this is where they would typically go when they've gotten an alert saying that there was a failure, right? So let's say after a maintenance window, there's a failure, and users may not be able to access Epic. So here they can see the date and time of the different applications launches. You can see the application that was being launched. In this case, it's Epic Hyperspace. You can see where it was being launched from, and ultimately whether the application launch was successful or if it failed. And if it did fail, you can actually see at what stage it failed. And if you have a failure, you can actually take a closer look at it by clicking here on this magnifying glass icon. And for all of these sort of simulated launches, you actually have screenshots showing you each stage of the process, ultimately up until the successful presentation of the application that you're launching. So this really gave this top 10 health system the ability to get ahead of issues impacting application availability, but also gave them screenshot evidence of what would present to the users so that they can have a sort of jump start on troubleshooting those particular issues. So before I hand it back to Stacy, I just wanted to go through, talk a little bit about how our customers are able to leverage not only the ability to troubleshoot and anticipate issues, but how they're able to leverage the historical reporting and analytics to understand trending, specifically when it comes to providing better user experience, and for applications like Epic, be able to keep a hold or keep a high honor roll or status or something like that. So here's some of the reports that a lot of our EHR customers are able to leverage on a daily basis, starting off with this license usage report, being able to see peak times, being able to see license usage based on delivery groups, based on applications, so you can sort of understand what it takes or what you need to do to be able to support the environment, making sure that you're able to provide a better experience for those users. This next one is one for log-on duration, which I think is used very heavily by our Epic customers, just to be able to understand what log-on times are and things like that, so that they can keep a high honor roll status with Epic. And there's another one that's showing log-on times in a more graphically pleasing way. This one is used just to understand at what stages of the log-on process do you need to try and improve. A lot of our customers leverage these heavily as well.
Great. Thank you, Yemi. We have one more slide as we wrap up. I have a few questions that came in during the presentation, but if you have additional questions, please go ahead and add them to the question box, and we'll make sure that we get to them. Before we jump into questions then, I just wanted to kind of recap everything that you've seen today and highlight what Yemi just showed you is really the example of that embedded intelligence and automation I spoke about, and how Goliath can truly help your organizations anticipate, troubleshoot, and prevent clinician experience issues, really regardless of where IT workloads or users are located. I think Yemi hinted in many of his examples, but really we work independent. If you have applications that are hosted in the cloud, even if you need some help monitoring and troubleshooting those IT elements, we absolutely assist with that, or if it's on-premise as well. The other thing we hear from our health systems, as I stated earlier, and hopefully you saw in the demonstration, is really when organizations hire Goliath, it's equivalent to hiring 3 to 5 troubleshooting experts. That's really where the built-in intelligence and automation comes into play. And as we highlighted, we are the only solution with purpose-built EHR modules for things like Epic, Cerner, Allscripts, and MEDITECH. And evidence of that is you can go, if you're an Epic Hyperspace customer, you can go into the Epic App Orchard program and select our app from that site. Cerner also sells our modules direct, and in fact, we were named a finalist as their Innovation Partner of the Year in 2019. We work with a number of their organizations and health systems, some that they host themselves and manage as well. And then we've got dozens of Allscripts and MEDITECH customers. So everything you saw today, like the MEDITECH graph, all of that is available across health systems. Finally, we really gave you only 3 customer examples. We have hundreds more that we could pull from. And one of the points I really want to make is that our system scales not only technically for the smallest of the regional health systems to the largest that have multiple offices spread across the U.S., but we also make it economically feasible for all sizes of health systems. And this is a question we get. Often someone will say, oh, this looks like it's only good for the largest of hospitals. No, our system scales economically, and in reality, it's a fraction of what you might be paying for your overall EHR system, and that fraction can give you great peace of mind. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the questions. The first question I have, Yemi, is someone's describing a situation where they have log-on times that can be up to 2 minutes, and they often struggle to identify why. As from IT, it seems sporadic, but they're getting continuous complaints. So could you help identify if you would be able to troubleshoot why some of their clinicians are getting those longer up to 2 minute log-on times?
Yeah, absolutely. What I think, to be honest, I think it'll probably be of some value if I jump back into the product. So let's flip back over here and talk a little bit about how customers are able to leverage the technology to help reduce log-on times in an environment. So right now I'm looking up, just looking at a particular user session similar to what we did in the UHS example. And here we have a user's logon, we have a user's session, and we can sort of focus here on this particular section here, which is the logon summary. So here you can see there's some issues. This is a particularly long logon. So let's actually try and take a look at what we see for this particular user's logon. So what I did was I clicked on logon summary. It took me directly to this logon screen where I can sort of troubleshoot this logon process. So here you can see in this section here, it's called the logon duration brokering section. You can see what's going on at the delivery controller, things like drive mapping, printer mapping, logon scripts, or session startup time and things of that nature. But you can also see what's going on at Citrix receiver. And this is without deploying any technology to the user's endpoint. We're able to see things like ICA file download or how long it took to establish a micro VPN connection, and any other Citrix receiver related issues that could be contributing times to this particular user's logon. Finally, in this bottom section, we break out each stage of the process. And depending on what you have set up or configured in your environment, these sections will expand and collapse so you can sort of see exactly what's impacting this user session. So for instance, I can click here on authentication, and here I can see what OUs this user is a part of, what domain controller was in charge of authenticating the session, what files were accessed during this user's logon, how long it took for those LDAP calls, or if there's issues with authentication, you sort of have all the information you need to troubleshoot that. And then in the section here, group policies, you can actually see each individual policy that's affecting this particular user session. Not only the policy, but the policy name, how long each one is taking, within a sort of Gantt or waterfall chart, so you can effectively collapse the troubleshooting time frame, find exactly what's causing those logon issues, and focus on fixing them as opposed to finding them.
Great. Thank you, Yemi. The next question that has come in is someone said they are a Epic Hyperspace customer, and they want to know if we have any specific reports that could help them either achieve or maintain their honor roll status.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I think I touched on that a little bit earlier when we went through the reports. I was on a call with absolutely. The answer to the question is yes, absolutely. We have a number of reports that are being leveraged on a daily basis by specifically our Epic customers, as they try to attain honor roll status or even keep honor roll status, because I know there are a lot of benefits, with the health system actually being a part of the honor roll or having that honor roll status. I was on a call, the other week with an Epic customer, and they said that Citrix, a user experience when it comes to Citrix, is a key contributing factor to the ability to have this honor roll status. So they leverage sort of our Citrix reporting as well as some additional analytics that we provide them to be able to, number one, track user experience and make sure that it's good, and understand what needs to change in their environment to be able to get that honor roll status. If you have any other questions, specifically, we can definitely get on a call and reach back out, get on a call with you, and go through what that looks like.
Perfect. And I would say if there's other Epic customers and you're interested in this, this is something that we have gone ahead and built reports for some other clients around. So if this is something of interest, we'd love to get on a phone and talk about how we could further assist you. So please let us know. The next question, also around reports, is for reports, how far back can you go in to see the data? And follow up to that is, can you see it only averaged over users, or can you see it for a specific user, for example, over a 3-month period?
That's a great question, and I think we get this a lot. So we do not average or roll up any information we collect. And on top of that, we actually give each individual customer the ability to choose how long they want to keep the data for. So in all of our reports, you'll have granular metrics on either user experience, log-on times for a particular user, for a particular user group, and you can go back and pull reports for however long you would like, depending on how long you keep the data for. And all of those metrics, all of those reports will have granular metrics and information.
Perfect. Another question that has come in is someone was saying that they were going through their Windows 10 upgrade, and whenever they went to launch, they luckily found that there was the right disk space was filling up quickly. Is this something that you would have been able to find an alert on if Goliath was in place?
Absolutely. We have over 350 monitoring rules that we apply to your environment as soon as we deploy our technology, and these reports or these alerts, these rules will alert you to a number of those issues. Yes, right space and things like delivery controller issues and so on and so forth. So over 350, and then you can sort of trigger remediation actions directly from our technology as well. So yeah, that's something that we absolutely would have picked up and sent an alert for.
Perfect. Another question here from, this is a Cerner customer asking how we are different at Goliath than Lights On.
Oh, that's a great question, and we get that a lot. So I actually have one. I have a slide here that I think could add some context. What we hear is that Lights On is a very good tool, but it's focused on specific sort of Cerner specific or application specific metrics, as opposed to Goliath that you see here on the slide. If you're looking at the screen, we're looking at user experience and the performance of the on-prem environment, log-on times, and things of that nature. There is some overlap. We like to say it's 4% overlap, and that's really just the ICA round trip time. But I think what we have here on the screen shows that Lights On and the Goliath Technologies platform is really complementary to each other, because one of them is going to be focused more on the application performance, and the other one, Goliath, is focused on the user experience, the delivery infrastructure, whether that's Citrix or VMware Horizon.
Great. Well, thank you, Yemi. That is the end of our questions for today. I want to thank everyone for joining. If you would like a free trial of what we showed, please go ahead and email us, and we will talk about setting that up for you. And as I said, as soon as you close out the GoToMeeting, you will get 3 short question surveys. Should take you no more than 3 minutes, even if that, to just identify if this content hits a mark for you and other things you potentially would like, so that we are continually improving our content for the community. Again, I thank everyone for joining, and please do take time to fill out the survey. Thank you.